I'm missing your husband. He's always there.
He's home if you're looking for him.
All right, so now we're recorded and live streamed, and because we have nobody online, it's working perfectly, which is awesome. But okay, whenever you're ready.
All right, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and there's no one online, so we have no public participation. And then we have approval of minutes, but you've been too busy.
No, I sent them out, but you may not have had time to see them yet. And I have hard copies here if anybody needs them.
I'll pass those out.
Oh, sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. You could certainly table it till next time if you'd like to, if you haven't had a chance to look at them yet. I have been particularly. There's 2 sets. So March 1st and April 5th. There we go. Thank you. And they are also in your email.
So we'll approve them next week, next month.
And we'll add this tonight's to it as well.
And you have someone to take minutes?
For tonight, they have a couple of commission clerks on retainer in the town manager's office. You just have to request them each month, which I did not know. So I have one for this tonight. I did the last 2 months, and then the person whose name you gave me, I'll reach out to her and see if she'd like to become like our permanent person.
It's always nice to have someone that knows.
Consistency, consistency. And preferably if they could attend the meetings, I think that's also helpful.
Mhm.
But I'm very grateful for Karen, who is a town hall employee who is doing the minutes for us this evening. So when you hear this on the recording, thank you, Karen.
Great, because it's a lot of work.
It is.
You don't need that work.
It's okay.
Okay.
All set. Actually, it's perfect. Thank you. Thanks.
We have a staff report.
Okay, I'll start off with program and services, our monthly update. I always say we've had a very busy month, but I'm not joking. We had a very busy month. Lots of great programs from April. I'm gonna do it on here. Just get it all set.
I didn't touch it.
That's
I
okay.
promise.
I thought I was so organized. Give me 1 second. I thought I was doing well. So in April, we had a busy month. The biggest things that we did were we hosted the Friends of the Library book sale, as we do. We're back to doing twice a year in the fall and in the spring. I don't know their sales numbers, but my understanding is it was one of their biggest book sales to date. It was very, very busy and very well received. So we're always happy to partner with them for the book sale. We also had the Newington Public Schools kindergarten through grade 12 art show in our auditorium and out in the hallway for 3 days last week, combined with the Newington Art League art show. And their works of art were in art display cases and also down in the multi-purpose room. Extremely well received. So I know I came Wednesday night for the reception because some of my girls' artwork was in there, and it was packed in here. So people were parking across the street to get in. So we have to make a note to tell them they could park over back in the auxiliary lot next year. But it was great. Both nights, both evenings that was open, it was very busy. And then during the day, that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, when it was open, members here really enjoyed looking through all of the art. So it was extremely well received. We look forward to a nice partnership with the Newington School Art Department. They're great people, extremely helpful, extremely responsive. And one thing that we're looking to do with them moving forward might be to get a mural in that TV lounge, which we've been talking about for a while, but I think now we have the right people to contact to do so. And ideally, I'd like to have it be collaborative. Like we can identify a couple of high school artists who could work with a couple of either members of the art league or members here or both, to just go ahead and create a mural in the TV lounge. So that is one great thing. We had a ton of special programs, all of which were extremely well received as usual. We had a garden seed ball presentation. It taught you how to, I never heard of it before, but it's a way to take clay, certain type of clay and a bunch of seeds. So when you're planting and you have those little tiny seeds that you can't pick up or see, you make them into a ball and you plant them in rows and you get nice clusters of plants that way. That was led by our Giving Garden volunteers. We had a program about cultivating self-kindness that kind of goes along with the mindfulness series that we're doing. We had several spring craft classes, which are always very well attended. We had along the lines of our intergenerational programs, Martin Kellogg Middle School Chorus came by. We had program on polypharmacy, program on reverse mortgages, a program on bullying. So every day there was something going on here. Always great. The bus trip committee, they are hopping. I'm sure Kathy, I don't know, because what day do you work? Tuesdays? You probably see it. They come in and they sell bus trips a couple times per week, and they're continually planning more trips because pretty much everything they've started selling has sold out. So they're going to Boston Encore Casino a couple times. They're doing a river cruise. Gosh, I can't remember off the top of my head the other ones. A couple of different various playhouses in the area. All good things. And coming up in the fall, there will be fall leaf foliage trips, that type of thing, going up north to see where the leaves are really nice. Some holiday shows coming up closer to November and December. So they're still moving on that. The coffee shop and the gift shop are still doing extremely well. Very busy. We are still looking for volunteers. I think I said the same thing last month. It's just been a uphill battle getting those volunteers in here. The tax aid program finished up in April. We ended up having over 230 tax returns prepared for free by the 9 volunteers in that program. And they already have suggestions and ideas of how they could expand for next year. So that's good to know. Let's see what else we have here. The staff has been taking advantage of professional training opportunities that are offered by the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, which Newington is a member of. So as part of that membership, they offer quite a few trainings that are free of charge as part of that membership. I'm working on a certification to be a Connecticut certified municipal official, which is something that the CCM does. They partner with Trinity College, and it's a 2-year program essentially to become a certified public official. So I'm working on that. A lot of different exciting classes and programs.
What does that allow you to do?
It just gives me a fancy title, but it's a lot of training and a lot of resources you learn about and a lot of services you learn about. Everything from, I've taken classes on everything from cybersecurity to advanced Excel to civility in government. That's a good one. Although I think we're very civil here at the Senior and Disabled Center. You know how government can be sometimes. As part of that, I'm working with the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative, which is the group of senior centers and aging organizations that's also working with CCM. They had an in-person meeting at the state capitol last week, so that was kind of exciting. I always like to have a chance to go over there. When they talked about some great initiatives that are going on in the state and with some other towns that are doing that, won some awards, such as the Groton Senior Center, which completely rebranded itself, and now they're called Thrive 55. So they're an active aging center. And then Glastonbury has been going for several years now, been working on an initiative called Age Well Glastonbury, which was an entire town approach to services and identifying what's needed and what people need to do, what people need to age well in place in Glastonbury. And I realized that Glastonbury and Newington are a slightly different demographic, but it was a very exciting presentation to watch, and kind of gives you some thoughts about some longer term things that we could achieve here moving forward. So that's about it for programs. Anybody have any questions on that? What we did in April in terms of general stuff, I have more.
No, I saw in Facebook you posted some pictures of volunteers.
Yes, yes.
That was really nice.
So we're going to talk about the volunteer dinner later, but one thing we started today is we do want to start recognizing our volunteers. So we're going to go through each group. I have different lists. Most volunteers from the center are in one group, like the coffee shop, the gift shop, the garden. Some of them volunteer in multiple positions. And then there's some kind of one-off ones, like our gentleman in the wood shop who makes things that we need, like cornhole boards or card holders, things like that. So we're going to go through each group and recognize them once a day on Facebook, kind of leading up to the volunteer dinner, which I thought would be nice. So we
I
got
saw
that.
the picture and read a little bit.
Yeah.
And it made me smile.
Yes, so
Very
we have
nice.
like over 75 volunteers, many of whom do a lot of things too. Whether they're in the coffee shop and on the commission, we have people who serve on the trip committee and work in the coffee shop. We have people who, what else we have, who work in the tax office, who do the tax aid, and then they work in our main office and deliver Meals on Wheels. So there's all sorts of people that do a lot for us who deserve to be recognized.
The NCOA. Yep. Did anyone have any questions?
We received, as I told you at the last meeting, we were approved for a $50,000 grant from the National Council on Aging for a vaccine uptake initiative for COVID-19 and flu vaccines, with the intention on identifying people who are at risk, who want to get a vaccine, because it's a choice, people who choose to get a vaccine but have reasons why they cannot, whether it's health or homebound, whether it's financial, whether they have transportation challenges. So I explained all this to you already, but we did receive that $50,000 grant. And as I explained last month, Newington is the fiduciary for that, but the work is going to be done by the Central Connecticut Health District and the 4-member towns, Newington, Berlin, Rocky Hill, and Weathersfield. We received the first installment of the grant funding. We received $20,000. The remaining installment should be coming to us shortly. We have 12 months to expend the funds. So it's going to be a 1-year project. So in the past month, as the project leader, I've been very busy. I've attended numerous onboarding programs because this is a nationwide initiative. Newington happened to receive a good chunk of funding, but it's all across the country. So onboarding, reporting trainings, because the reporting, as I think I explained last month, the reporting is very stringent and they use a certain platform for that, informational sessions and everything else over the past 3 or so weeks. Finished all that, did all the pre-paperwork, did all the, everything that they required, of the releases and the signatures and the training. So now I'm going to meet on Monday, May 8th with the group, and we're actually going to start with the project, with actually getting shots for people who wish to have shots. So again, a lot of that is outreach, a lot of that is marketing, a lot of that is identifying people who may be in need if they're interested. It coincides with the CDC's new vaccine recommendations, which I read, and I'm like, I have no idea. I'm glad the clinical people will probably need to understand that, but the new COVID vaccine recommendations from the CDC, because it is a 12-month project, it will flow into when flu vaccines are available, like, in the spring, right? In the spring? Yeah. Fall through the spring. March, I mean.
Usually fall is flu.
Fall, yeah, what am I thinking? You're right. Fall is flu. I'm sorry. I don't know
September, maybe?
I don't know why I'm thinking March. Yeah, no, you're right. It was our, I don't know why I'm thinking that. Our clinics here are usually in like mid to late October. So that'll be during the time period of this. So the health district will be looking at using the funding to get the clinical staff to have extra additional clinics or whatever else needed. Do you have a question?
Just quick.
Yeah.
Question. The screen behind us is black. So
I shut it off because there's nobody online. I found it distracting. I don't know if you did. I could turn it back on if you like.
no,
Okay.
gosh, no.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if that was offline or something.
No, we're recording, but thank you.
The vaccines.
Do you want to
gonna
look at
be like
yourself?
The complete variety
Just
of
teasing you.
what's, whether somebody hasn't got a first shot
Yes.
or a second shot
Mhm.
or boosters or, because now I guess they're recommending a third booster.
For
Yes,
certain
but
people.
Over
very
65
confusing.
and people with certain comorbidities.
And that is our demographic. So what they no longer recommend, so remember when it first came out in 2021 and you got your first dose and then 3 or 4 weeks later you got your second dose. That was the initial vaccine. That is no longer authorized by the CDC because it doesn't cover the current strains. So now the bivalent booster is now the basic shot. So they want anybody who's aged, I think, 6 months and up to get them. And then a second one 4 months later. And then there's certain circumstances where you might want to get a third one, but not everybody. But and then there's also things for kids age 6 to 12. They get it's a whole big list, but it coincides nicely with the timing of our grant funding, because now we can have this fresh new information to get to people who may not be up to date according to the latest standards, and we can address that.
All right, go ahead.
The CERT team assisted with the Central Connecticut
Yes.
Health District.
Oh yes, we will definitely be involving them heavily, both with the
Yeah,
flu
going
and the great. So it's up to the clinical folks at the health district to decide when is appropriate to do another round of COVID vaccine clinics, I guess, at the senior centers like they do periodically. But again, we'll also be looking at homebound people who don't have a permanent address, people living like in the motels, that type of thing, homeless people. So that type of thing as well. That's going to be the main focus. People who want to get a shot but can't for some reason.
Yes, so bivalent, what's the definition of bivalent?
The bivalent means that my understanding, because again, I'm not an expert at this, is that it covers various strains of the virus. The initial shots that everybody got in early 2021 were for the initial strain of the virus, which is apparently no longer in existence. So now, you know how it went through like Delta and Omicron and whatever they are now.
Keep changing.
Yeah, it keeps changing. So the newer ones means that it covers the current strains, like multiple strains, kind of like the flu vaccine. Kind of, you know, there's various strains of the flu, and it kind of changes each year to what the flu shot actually covers, and that's what this is for. But it's for COVID.
Right. If this adds to the question as well. So in my situation, I'll just self-disclose for the sake of whatever, just for our conversation's sake. So I have 2 shots plus a booster.
Mhm.
Is that okay for me? Or,
Well,
I mean, I should consult my PCP.
Oh, we always say consult your medical professionals, because I am certainly not one. But just reading the guidance, if you have the bivalent one, that if you got the initial booster that came out in early 2022, that's not it. You need the newest one that just came out. So again, talk to your doctor. I really don't want to be giving medical advice in this meeting, but that's, yeah.
Second booster.
The second, what used to be the second booster is now the main shot. And it's a 1-dose thing. See, I told you it's confusing. Yeah.
Like you said, they're constantly
Changing. So always ask your doctor.
You know,
Mhm.
you get one thing on the news, you get something else on
Right.
the news, and it's constantly changing.
And there are different recommendations if you've recently had COVID. And again, whatever kind of other medical conditions you may have may affect it. So,
Right. I get to see the potential of argument and contra or against the, why so many pokes and why so many jabs. I just don't shoot the messenger, please. But it's how people, rightfully against, can express their either acceptance or rejection of the COVID shot.
Mhm.
So I kind of harkens, or to me, I think of the question, how do we take the stigma away from people getting the booster shot?
sure.
Or is it really an agenda? Is it really something that should be golly foresight people?
No,
it's really confusing.
I try to be clear with our discussions about this, because I know that vaccines in general are controversial.
Yes.
And they're also at this point, they're not required by most employers. Some, I guess some could, but looking at what we're looking at in terms of population, so we call it as, if you want to get vaccinated, but you can't, let us help you. If you don't want to get vaccinated, then fine. But part of that is making sure that correct information is going out to people so that they understand. Like, we just tried to kind of work through, like, okay, when do you need to get your next shot? And I don't know off the top of my head, but we would partner with the people that do know to try to get like up-to-date, correct information to people so that if they choose to get a vaccine, then we can help them. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. And again, we will rely heavily on the experts at the Central Connecticut Health District for the clinical part of that, which is all, we do the organization, we do the identify the people who need it, who may need it. We do the outreach, we do the have it in our building, get the CERT team, we'll call the people, we'll make the appointments, we'll help with that. But of course, the medical stuff, the medical is left up to the medical experts. So,
Sure.
So we meet with the group. I meet with the group next Monday, which means next time I'll have more info for you. Any questions on that?
No, it sounds exciting though.
It's a lot of work, but it's exciting.
Yes. Grants are always a lot.
They
of
sure
work.
are. And the ongoing reporting, it's a lot, but it's okay. It's
So do you
worth
have
it.
to do a monthly report?
Oh, we have to do monthly reports, weekly reports, periodic reports, online reports, reports at a particular platform that I need to learn how to use, statistical reports. Oh, yes. So, and along that line, if we have ARPA funding,
Yes.
I've been saying this for 6 months now. We're getting $90,000. I do know a little bit more than I knew next month, which was that the proposals for that are due on June 24th. Now it's kind of like a grant because you have to write up a proposal for what you're using the money for, but we know we're getting money. So we know we're getting $90,000. That part's done, but it can only be used for certain things, and the state unit on aging needs to approve of what we're using it for. Everything with this funding has to be tied to COVID mitigation, which used to mean masks and things like that, and hand sanitizer and stuff. It doesn't mean that anymore. Now it means more things like, do you have an outdoor area for programming? Do you have sufficient space for your programming? That type of thing. Or it has to be tied to COVID recovery. Again, that doesn't mean physically people recovering from COVID. It means your business or your organization's recovery from COVID. So for us, that would mean things like building membership, welcoming membership back who may be reluctant to come back, retaining membership. It also means things like mitigating COVID by helping people with their general health, helping people not being socially isolated, that type of thing. The expenditures have to be under a couple categories: programming, capital improvements, or facilities. And we are certainly able to do all of those. So I'm working on a bunch of proposals, which I'm going to actually review with the town manager first, as would be appropriate. And also the finance director, just because she has a lot of experience in this area. So I want to make sure that she'd say, yes, this is fine. But basically what senior center directors are talking about and what I'm talking about here would be things like, again, adding more health related programs. So it means we need supplies and instructors, looking at how we can better utilize our space. So again, for us, garden improvements, things that we've wanted to put in the garden, but we haven't had funding for, could certainly be under COVID mitigation or recovery, because people are struggling due to the financial impacts of COVID, and we are helping with the food bank with human services. So you have to kind of tie it all back together.
Creative.
Yeah, exactly. I think, but also things like outdoor, and I'll have some purchase requests later for you for this, but outdoor programming space, because outdoors can still consider the safest place to have a gathering, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we can improve our outdoor space, that type of thing. Building improvements, better against maybe I don't think there's anything this month, but things like the stage that we talked about, the facilities is still kind of looking at for us. I don't really have an update because they've been very busy, but like the maker space we're looking at, that type of thing, that we can use this type of funding for. So by the next meeting, we will be approaching that deadline, and I will have specifics for you to take a look at. So it's, again, moving along slowly, but I'm really glad that this month we had some movement on that, because we kind of been waiting for the past 5 months. So to finally get that little bit of info out was very nice.
So the money can be used for programming, capital expenditures,
And facilities.
okay.
Can't hire anybody with it. It's the federal funding. It went to the state unit on aging, and they said basically this is intended for senior centers and senior centers only throughout the state. Yeah. And it can only be used sent to senior centers, and they said figure out how to, it was like $10 million, figure out how to distribute it among there's about 202 currently senior centers in Connecticut. Some are municipal and some are nonprofit. So they used a couple of different criteria, census numbers, town budgets, COVID, how hard COVID hit the town, and that's how they came up with who got what. And we ended up with 90,000. I think it's a pretty reasonable amount of money for that we could definitely put to very good use here. That's it. Yep.
LGBTQ.
Correct. This is another one that I brought up to you preliminarily a couple months ago. This is very exciting. Several years ago, the former director Diane Stone originated what was then called the LGBT Movable Senior Center. And what it did was there's a handful of senior centers across the state that participated in it, and it allowed them to create programming and share resources for LGBT individuals. So it was a series of programs throughout the year. They called it Movable Senior Center because it went from place to place, so that, if you lived over like in the northwest corner of the state and you go over there, if you lived in the center, you can come to us, whichever one you want, was closer. And it provided social and educational programs. It continued on through the pandemic just fine. It moved to virtual just like everybody else. But we also thought around that time that it was probably time to refresh and update the program. So I sat on the work group that did this, that refreshed the program. We partnered with the Connecticut Healthy Living Collective, and we rebranded to what's now the LGBTQ plus Movable Senior Center, just to update the terminology to what's currently accepted. And what it is it's a collective effort. So older adults who are LGBTQ plus will benefit from the services and supports available at senior centers, but enjoy intentionally inclusive and relevant programs and events. So there was a process in which senior centers would apply to join this program, and including us, even though I made the program, we still had to apply. So we did, and we were accepted, thankfully, around with about 4 dozen other senior centers across the state have opted to join. So what that means, again, is we're part of this collective. By partnering with the Connecticut Healthy Living Collective, we have more resources available to us. We have toolkits of like ideas and education and resources and everything else. Each senior center that is involved commits to doing at least one event in a 12-month period specifically related to this, but we all cross promote each other's events. And it's the Connecticut Healthy Living Collective helps us with like technology things like marketing, or if you wanted to do online signups, that type of stuff, because every senior center is different in that regard. So in order to do that, we had to take the following steps. We had to take part in foundational and best practice training. Every single staff member that is publicly facing has done so. That was a 3-part online training that we all took about topics related to LGBTQ plus, transgendered folks, and bullying of older adults in general, but also in those groups. We commit to doing so. And then Barbara, the program coordinator, and I have to go to a more intensive training a little later this month. Collaborate to build relevant programming and events, and actively foster and demonstrate a welcoming environment. So that's where we are with that. Very pleased to be part of it. I think it's important. I think it was a helpful program prior, but now it was due to be refreshed. There are some very sad statistics out there about older folks in this demographic who are isolated from their family. Close to 40% of older adults who have come out as part of this group, older in life, have lost contact with their families. They are 4 times more likely to not share relevant info with their healthcare providers for fear of being outed or being bullied. And they are far, far more likely to be bullied by their peers. So there's a lot of issues that we hope to help address with that.
So Jamie, does that mean they come here and they have their own program, or they come here and participate in whatever they would like to participate?
Both. So there are specific programming that's going to be planned just for this purpose. And again, each senior center has to commit to doing 1 per year, which doesn't sound like very much, and it's not. But when you have a whole bunch of senior centers doing it, you're going to have numerous events throughout the state. But yeah, of course, it's intentional inclusivity is the word they use, meaning that the way we operate, the way we speak to people, the way we intake information, we need to be inclusive of everybody and their lifestyles and their feelings, and how they choose to present or not present themselves if they wish.
So these are all seniors, right?
Yep.
And when they come here for their program, then they can stay and participate.
Of course.
In
Yep.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know how it worked.
Yep.
Okay. change forms at all? No application forms or?
We will be looking at that. Yes, our current forms are a bit outdated in terms of gender identification and that, that type of thing.
How about signage for the bathrooms? Is that going to reflect, for example, like unisex? I don't even know what it like. What do you call it? A unisex bathroom or all-inclusive bathroom? Is that even an issue?
It could be. That's one of the discussions kind of going on at the state level right now. So certainly something that we would be looking at, whatever would be appropriate to do in that case.
So we were just traveling and it was interesting. Every country is dealing with the bathroom
Mhm.
situation differently.
Mhm.
But I did walk into a bathroom where there was a guy there and I went, oh, excuse me. He says, no, you're in the right place.
Mhm.
We're all together now.
Yes. Yes. That's
So he was at a urinal and I walked in. He says, you just go over there. Okay.
I'm sure there's various comfort levels, but
Yeah,
certainly want to be.
I was a little surprised.
Definitely. Interesting. It sounded like you had a fun trip, fun travels. Yeah. So does anybody have any other questions about this program? Great. I think that might be it for staff report.
Okay. So now we have old business, budget update.
I don't really have an update. The budget passed at the last town council meeting earlier in April. We didn't have any cuts to our budget. We expect kind of status quo. I know Councilor Nagel's not here to give his official update, but that's where we stand.
Volunteer of the Year appointment and update.
Yes, so this is great. We talked about the Volunteer of the Year and the volunteer dinner at our last commission meeting, and you folks decided that we would do it in June and that we would do it outside if the weather permits under a tent. And the good news is we can move inside this year if we needed to. So the staff got to work the very next day and we reserved the tent and we went back and forth and checked a date and came up with June 22nd, Thursday, because it doesn't interfere with the town council meeting or any other known events in town. A lot of them seem to pop up, but it doesn't interfere. Our staff is all available and you folks indicated that you were available as well. So we, the very next day, put out a form to nominate Volunteer of the Year. We received 23 nominations,
Wow.
which is incredible. I was so happy to see it because in past years you might get 2, 3.
We'd have to drag
people. I tell the staff, or Diane would tell the staff members, put in a nomination. We need somebody nominated. So it's been very difficult to get nominations, but not this year. Everybody really got into it. The process and the nominations closed on May 1st, and staff met today. They met a little yesterday, a little bit today. The process is that this is the commission's program and the commission's dinner. So you're the hosts and you're the sponsors. You also choose the Volunteer of the Year, but the staff kind of makes a suggestion because we know who everybody is and we know the day-to-day operations. So among all of the wonderful, and every single one of these people or groups could be the Volunteer of the Year. There's not a single one in here that I'd say no. But we went through all of the applications, and what the staff would like to bring forth to you is nominating the AARP tax aid volunteers as our group Volunteer of the Year. There are 9 of them. They're led by a gentleman named Sal Anello. As I mentioned earlier, they are certified and trained by the IRS. They've been doing this for a number of years. I tried to go back and see how many, I can't find it. But they worked through the pandemic. So in 2020, when everything was really, really bad and new, they actually closed. They did the first couple of weeks as they normally would, and they had to close down just like everybody else. But they switched to doing everything via fax, telephone, and email, and some dropping off of things. In 2021, they were able to be in here, but we had to spread them out across the building, and people had to go and meet them under a tent in the parking lot to exchange papers across a table. So socially distanced and outdoor and outside. In 2022, they were able to be back in this room where they work typically, but with masks and social distancing. And then this year, finally, they were back to their fully regular operations. But what my point is they never stopped. So each year, this group of folks came in very intelligent. Like I said, each year they have to learn new IRS laws, which I can imagine is got to be extremely complicated. They need to know all of the tax rules, the tax code, They prepare returns. They prepared 230 plus tax returns this year from February to more than 230. I'll get the exact number for you, but this program is intended for, it's open to anybody. Like we wouldn't turn anybody away who made an appointment, but it's really targeted for folks over the age of 50 who live in Newington. So we thought that just given that we feel that there may be a little bit of an underrated group of people, not a lot of people know about them, we would like to ask the commission permission to nominate them as a group as the volunteers of the year.
Sounds good.
Any thoughts? Okay. And again, I want to emphasize, like, I'm going to have a talk with all the volunteers because every single one of these people is amazing. So, we have many kitchen volunteers. We have the person who runs bingo and setback, tax aid. We have a gentleman named Matt who does like 5 different things. He's awesome. We have a commissioner in this room was nominated who also works in the coffee shop. So, and many nominations. And I think they are all worthwhile for sure. And it's hard to pick, now, but if you folks are in agreement.
Would it be against the rules to nominate all of them?
It wouldn't be against the rules, but I do think, and we've honored more than one before. But I don't know if it would dilute. I think we have like 23. I don't know.
Well, last year was the Meals
Meals on Wheels. It was one group. Yeah, and this year it's one group.
How many volunteers are there?
75, approximately, give or take. Yeah. I don't know if it would dilute the honor if we just honored,
No,
Is there something we can do throughout the year?
Well, I'm doing a little bit of that with the Facebook posts, but yes, I think we could, as a staff and as a commission, say, hey, maybe you're a volunteer of the month or something to look at that way, and just honor different groups throughout the year. Of course, everybody comes to the dinner. Everybody's invited to the dinner. Right. But this would be the group that would receive the plaque on the wall of honor, and we'd talk about them. And
Speaking of dinner, I think it would be a better idea, not because who gets to eat first, and I don't think it should be the town council.
Who gets to eat first?
Yeah, at the other dinner, the most recent one.
And that was probably coincidental. We don't serve anybody first on purpose. It's we bring the trays of food up, whichever table they went to.
No, that was.
Yeah. I don't think
you go up and get it yourself dinner.
No, that wasn't us.
that was Human Services.
Oh, sorry.
That was when.
No,
they
that's
had
okay.
We get served.
Human Services.
Her daughter
I think they did
served
that
us.
purposely because they would have to go back to work.
Oh, maybe.
So to eat and then be
Possible.
able to come and partake, and then they didn't stay. They basically, went back across the street, to their positions. I'm assuming that's why
that makes
that's
sense.
why they did it.
Just during the day. The staff here gets very excited about the dinner. They love it. So, we'll get all the food plated up in advance and serve it all as equally as possible time-wise, depending on who's sitting closest, I guess.
And this one's at night. Where that one was at 1 o'clock, I think, 1 to 3, I think, for Human Services. So you're in the middle of the workday.
Yeah, it's a little different. And so we purposely tried to pick a night where there's no council meeting, no Parks and Rec event or anything like that. Hopefully, I think we'll get a good turnout. I think maybe if you don't mind, Chairperson, can you do a motion and a vote so you can make it official?
Sure.
Okay.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I make the motion to have the AARP tax preparers to be the Volunteer of the Year award for 2023.
Anyone like to second? All in favor? Aye. So carried.
All right, great. So thank you very much. We will get going on the dinner. We'll get the invitations out in the coming weeks. So you should all have one coming to your mailbox. We were kind of batting around ideas for themes, and I really like the idea of doing less or like a more informal, almost like a teamwork, but make it kind of sports related, but informal because it's a team. We're all a team. The whole place is a team. We have various teams of volunteers within those teams. So we're kind of working on that. But
So
it
you're
will be
looking for something?
Well, I think we found water bottles, like nice reusable water bottles. The big wide ones that they have great sayings on them about teamwork and part of an awesome team. They're colorful and they're fun. So we're kind of trying to work around that. but it doesn't need to be a formal. It's going to be outside. It's going to be in the summertime, almost like a barbecue or nighttime, like a less formal kind of thing. I think people would appreciate. So it'll still be nice, but not so
Now,
formal.
is the last year's people for the Meals on Wheels, has there, I haven't walked by, but usually I do. Has their picture been put on the wall?
We could never round them up together to get a picture
Oh,
because some of
okay.
them were there. So the plaque hat will have the Meals on Wheels logo on it, and then all of their names included on it.
Oh, okay.
So they'll be listed by name because it was like herding kittens trying to get them together. Some weren't there, and then some, we can't get them together at the same time outside of the dinner, and then some retired. We're like, all right, we're not going to get a picture. We'll just put their names up there. But we will attempt, because this is a group of 9 for the ARP, so we will attempt to get them together at the dinner or some point and
that
get their
night,
picture.
maybe.
Actually, I have a picture of them, but it was during COVID and they all have masks on. So if we can get an updated one, I think that would probably be more appropriate. So. Any other questions or thoughts?
No, so it's a team type of
Yeah,
thing.
and I'll work out the actual, detailed stuff. But you'll get the invitation in the next in the coming days.
Okay.
Great. So we will make it official.
Yay.
Thank you very much.
Door counter update.
So at the last meeting, I told you that IT was working on the non-working door counters, and they tried everything that they can do, such as they take special batteries. So they had to order them, and they took a couple weeks to come in, and they put them in, still didn't work. They reset the system a couple of times, still didn't work. So they contacted the company that made them, and they came over and took a look. And what we found out is the system is more than 10 years old. It's discontinued, of course. What they found was the device that collects the data is called the MIU, will not connect to the network. So when the people come through the door and the little sensor senses the people, it coming in and out, it communicates to the MIU through our network, our actual Wi-Fi. They tried a bunch of things, but they came to the conclusion that the MIU device is bad. They don't sell the system anymore. In fact, the new systems don't even use an MIU. I don't know the technology part of how it works, but they don't use an MIU. It's like direct connect to our server is my guess. So the IT director is looking into the cost of a new system. And I will communicate that to you via email when he hears back. So basically, long story short, our old ones are 10 years old. They just continued and they don't work anymore. So we'll have to either look at a new system or an alternate system for counting people coming in and out of the building.
Question. Have you considered just making it a volunteer job that certain people are sitting at the door for the day and they can count?
We have,
Okay.
yeah, we've done it in the past and it works out well for a while, but the volunteers get bored of it. It's hard to keep volunteers in place.
It's a boring job. I
yeah.
guess, unless you're talking to everyone who comes
Right.
in. But
And there are other systems that can detect people coming in. It doesn't detect who they are, but it detects the motion, and somehow it knows the difference between like a person and, I guess that's all you're gonna see in the pilot, as a person, as opposed to like say a person and an animal or something. So it can detect the motion and doesn't have to be people physically like opening and closing the door or whatever. So there's a couple of different options that we can look at. Obviously any costs would be a concern, or it's not budgeted because just wasn't on our radar at the time. So
it never worked very well.
yeah, it never worked well to begin with, and it sounds like they've really updated it since then. I think there are better options out there now that probably weren't there 10 years ago. So we'll see what they come up with, and I'll let you know.
I wonder if there's like other senior centers, what they're using, if they're using that door counter like a system like that, or are they not even doing that at all? And just, I know people will sign in and things like that, but I was just wondering if, whether it's Weathersfield, Rocky, the area towns, what they may be using, and that if they have a system that they're using and it works, then that might help with the research.
That's a good idea.
For IT.
I will reach out to them for sure.
Our problem is the 3 doors, though.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
But again, I'm sure they've come up with improvements in the past couple of years. And I do know that each senior center universally has issue with people signing in when they get in. Just nobody wants to. Either they just forget, they actively don't want to because they don't want people to know to know where their whereabouts, or they have privacy concerns or whatnot. So that's universal. But in terms of counting the number of people that come in and out of the building, I'll see what other centers do. Rocky,
The reason I keep harping on it, I think it's important budget-wise.
Mhm.
When the town council sees how many people are coming in and out of this building.
Right, just the traffic.
it's
Right.
helpful for grant applications. It's helpful for a lot of things. I definitely would want to do it. I said you can get a good idea based on program signups and people who do sign in and out, but it's certainly not the big picture. It's not the full picture. And for things that are drop-in, like the coffee shop or the gift shop or whatever that you're not signing up for in advance, we have no way of knowing. Even things like chair aerobics that people don't have to sign up for in advance. I mean, you can go in and count. We know there's usually 20, 25 people, but we don't know for sure. So
That's what they do at LA Fitness in the pool.
Mhm.
They count how many people are in the pool, keep record of that. And that's, what is it? That's Silver Sneakers. And
Yeah, well, you have to swipe your card when you walk in.
can you get
LA
into the
Fitness.
gym without swiping your card into LA Fitness?
They don't like you. There's
Yeah.
someone sitting right
Yeah.
at the door.
Yeah.
So,
There's only one entrance.
yeah,
Right.
but that just counts that you're here, that they don't know
What you're
while
doing.
you're there.
right.
Right.
It just,
But the guy that's the trainer for the aerobic, water aerobics, he counts by hand.
yeah, I think each teacher counts who's in their class, but they get reimbursed. So Silver Sneakers,
Yeah, they
when you
get
swipe,
like $2 a person.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
that's how they get reimbursed for the program.
Yeah, I'll look into that. Any other questions on that?
I just don't want a system that Diane used to spend hours on it,
I don't know.
trying to figure it out. I said, this is crazy. This isn't right.
No, I would think we would get the input from IT and other senior centers before we chose anything if we were to replace it.
Okay, now we have new business, upcoming activities.
Oh, sure. Here, go back to this. So some things you have your newsletters in front of you, but we have some interesting things coming up in May. We already had the Connecticut Humane Society come in, which was well attended. We have a pizza party on Friday, May 19th. So it's National Pizza Day. So if you didn't know that, now you do. You can go get some pizza, and we're going to have some entertainment. And we got it sponsored by a local assisted living. I believe they're in Rocky Hill. So they're buying pizza and entertainment for everybody, which is great. We had the AARP Safe Driving course today, which is always sold out, which is extremely well attended. The balance and strength class that Barbara put together, it was so popular and well attended that it was intended to be something that people can do if they don't get into Silver Sneakers, because it's very difficult. It always goes to lottery. There's way more people interested than there are seats. So Barbara came up with this balance and strength class that we started back in March. And that one had just as long of a wait list. So she started another one. There'll be a beginner class and a class for people who've done it in the past. So those are both, I want to say they're probably close to being full as well. Self-defense, self-protection presentation coming up. And we're going to continue with our series of gardening presentations and talking about ways that you can garden even if you don't have a gardening space at your home. And one of those is you could actually grow potatoes in bags pretty easily. It's really cool. It's pretty easy to do. Some cookie decorating. The Martin Kellogg Middle School chorus is coming back for an encore because they were so well received. So, and I guess they received some grant funding to kind of do some concerts throughout the community. So that ended up being a really good partnership. And then our normal things coming up like we normally have. We have our European history class continues. We have a new Friday group that meets and does just what it says: coffee, conversation, and crafts or coloring. You can come in and pick from a couple different crafts to do. We are in preliminary talks to get the expo back. That would be probably in November. So we're starting to work on that. And again, just a lot of great things coming up.
Pickleball is still.
Pickleball is 3 days a week. Actually 6 sessions a week, 3 days a week, 2 sessions per day, and every single one of them fills up. So we also are periodically doing like intro to pickleball kind of deals, that type of thing, so people can come in and learn how to play. So it's a great great program. It's not only is it a fun game to play, but it's a lot of socialization too.
Mm.
You know, you come in with your group and you chat and you talk. And I wouldn't say it's super competitive pickleball, but it's a way to move around and have fun and get out.
Anything you do is better than nothing.
Exactly.
Take it from a physical
Right.
therapist. I have two things with that. I just met with the chair of the PT program at Quinnipiac.
Okay.
I was a member of the first graduating class, and next year in 2024, it's 50 years.
Wow.
Yes, I'm old. And they're going to do a year-long celebration because the program is now 50 years old.
Great.
So not just for the class, but for the
Yep.
school too. And one of the things they do is they have a group of volunteers, the students volunteer, and they do have a group in Hartford.
Okay.
And I would like to talk to Barbara
Mhm.
and see maybe they would come here for free. They can do a balance. They can do some testing. They can do classes. They can measure people's fitness. I mean, anything that a PT does.
Okay.
So, and they're willing to come here for free.
Perfect.
And they won't be advertising, their program.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you can get in touch with Barbara. I'm sure she'd be happy to hear that.
And the other thing I saw in the Rare Reminder is there's a guy, a Dr. Jonathan Lehrer, who talks on climate change gardening.
I'll take that.
I thought that was interesting
Yeah.
because climate change is changing things, and evidently it's changing the way we garden because there's not as many bees and there's more of this animal, this insect, and not enough of this one. And I guess it's fairly interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because on the news tonight, I think they did a blur with Newington, and they had a sign saying no mowing May, meaning don't mow your lawn for the whole month of May because of they want the pollen and everything for the bees and everything to pollinate and I'm like, oh my God, the town will go crazy.
Well, I was going to say,
Yes.
in my previous job with the town, I administered the town's blight ordinance.
Oh,
It just the calls that we used to
I
get in the month of
can't
May
imagine.
anyway, because your grass grows so fast in May with the rain and,
All the
and
rain
the
and
spring.
that.
And
It's on
the
news-
call-
it's on the
yeah.
news tonight,
Yeah.
saying that Newington was part of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, they saying no, because they're saying they want the pollination for the
They can come to my deck. It's this
for the
thick.
flowers, for whatever.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We'll have to see how that plays out. I'm glad I'm not doing blight anymore.
And there's, I keep collecting these things. Rocky Hill Senior Center has gift certificates for membership
Okay.
or for the coffee shop.
That actually brings me to a good point. A couple of commissions ago, when Diana was still here, they said you need to have like point of sale systems or cash registers. You can't, like the main office would collect cash and write it down, or the coffee shop had its box and they throw the dollar in the box, whatever, write it down. So we got the point of sale systems for the gift shop and coffee shop a couple of years ago, but they're still using an old fashioned cash register in the main office. So we were instructed to do that. But we found out was that My Senior Center, our software that we use for people to sign up for programs and that we use for our record keeping, has a POS system in it that would be suitable for membership. We'd still use what we use in the coffee shop and gift shop because those are specific. They're like retail type things. But in terms of membership, donations, fees for classes or whatever, and it won't cost us anything. It's part of our current fee that we pay for that software. But one of the things they have is gift certificates. So we could start off with gift
I mean, you
certificates
could
here.
even
Yeah.
do the lunch program. We
Yep.
could do anything.
Anything. Yep.
And it's so hard to find gifts. How do you find a gift for your grandmother or your mother or your father?
Mhm.
But if they come here, it sounds like a good thing.
So that would go, we're starting the training on that next month, and it will go into effect in the new fiscal year on July 1st. So it won't look any different outwardly, except that we'll actually have a reporting system now instead of just a cash register tape. So that could be part of that. We can design some nice, I don't know if we can't have cards here, but we can make some nice certificates that they can use anywhere, coffee shop,
Or it
gift
could
shop,
be a
whatever.
piece of paper.
Yep. Yep. So that's good. Thank you. Good ideas.
Yeah, computer programs have gift certificates.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
It's
would just
easy.
I
have
did that for Peter.
It's just, I wish I could have gotten my mother or my father a gift certificate to the senior centers, because what do you buy them? You know,
Right. And it's just something you would have to add on to if somebody was purchasing something, because like in the coffee shop, you have the icon for volunteer coffee. So
Yeah.
when somebody comes and you get, for volunteering,
Oh,
you get a
gift
card
certificate.
that you check off. So if somebody gets a cup of coffee or tea or whatever, and then I have to hit volunteer coffee, so it comes up with 0, so that it's counted for, but there's no cost because the
Yes.
person's using their card. So
Right.
if you
Maybe
did
you
that,
could-
you would have to add.
just
Gift
adds.
cards.
Yeah, the
gift
accounting would be
card,
pretty
yeah.
easy,
Right.
and Josie in our office would handle that. And again, you just add a payment method to that in the gift shop, and wherever else we might take money. So good ideas. Thank you.
I'm not trying to give you more work. It's
Yeah.
just, this is the
It's
best
okay.
senior center I know. I've visited a lot of them in other countries, and
Well, I appreciate it.
not like here. That's for sure.
We welcome the challenge. How's that?
Building update.
Yep, I have a few. The lights in the auditorium are done, including the covers that diffuse them. They're LED lights now, which are more efficient. They're also much, much brighter. They were so bright that we had to get covers to diffuse the light. People were complaining it was a little bit too much, but it makes it safer for exercise and more welcoming in there. And you can dim them, for movies or shows or whatever we're doing in there. So that's all set, thanks to our facilities department. The garden, this is kind of a thing with them every year. Just like you would at home, the garden needs spring cleaning. And the parks department mows the lawn, and they leaf blow. And our building supervisor, George, who's here tonight, he's wonderful. When he has time, because he has other things to do, he goes out there and does cleaning. But they need a little bit more help than what we can provide. And parks department's very busy with schools and soccer fields and baseball diamonds and mowing and all that stuff. So they're needing some help with the spring cleanup. Things like mulching and sweeping, I don't know, that type of thing, picking up branches, taking out dead plants, that kind of raking, all that kind of, just like you do in your yard at home in the spring. So right now, when I'm talking to the athletic department at the high school, because the spring sports, the athletes usually require a community service project or volunteer hours. So that's where I'm looking now to get them to come in for a day, or like a weekend or after school one day, and do that work. If that doesn't pan out, then we're going to probably go out to the community and ask for like a garden cleanup day and see if people would be willing to come out and spend, do it for 4 hours on a Saturday or something, so that we can get the garden. It's functional and it has everything it needs, but to get it really like pristine and ready.
Is that a problem with the union?
No, it's not a problem at all. It's expectations from the volunteers that work in the garden versus the amount of hours that we actually have in our day to do so. That's what it is. And no, Parks is very helpful. But again, they are with their staff, they're juggling every field in the town, every school, just the mowing itself and the town-owned properties this time of year, they're mowing a couple times a week. So it just
Community gardens and the tennis courts and the pools.
So they're very helpful. They do everything we ask. They move things around. They unload the mulch, they mow, they weed whack, but she wants more, the gardeners would like more of a deep cleaning and detailing and really making it like a showpiece. But also things that need to be done, like spreading mulch and that type of thing, that the kind of the physical labor that's a little bit more difficult to accomplish. So that's what we're looking to do. But I think I'm hoping that we can get some help from the high school students. Like I said, that's in the works, but we'll see. So
That's maybe something we could put out to the town.
Yep.
I mean, when Keening Manufacturing used to be in the center of town, I remember their employees did like Earth Day, and they cleaned up around the town.
Yeah.
They went around to the parks, or they went around to certain places, and that was kind of like their employee participation.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
For the, to help in your community and whatever.
So maybe we could reach out to some local businesses, see if their employees would like to do that too. So there's lots of
If you
options.
serve maybe coffee and bagels or something, you'll get more people.
People are very food motivated. Yes. Yes.
You like that.
I love it.
That was your suggestion.
Give me donuts and I'll be there. So, okay, so that's the garden. But again, it's going very well. It's not a problem. It's just more of like, let's see what we can do to kind of take it up to the next level and what kind of help we can get.
This is the,
Commission on Aging?
this is a fund development, right?
No.
I'm the wrong meeting, I'm sorry.
What are you looking for?
The Democrats Fund Development meeting.
Down in the multi-purpose room. So go down, take a left.
I was trying to find the movie.
That's okay. All right, have a good night. Although I would love public participation, but I guess you should go to his meeting. Next on the building, this is an update on the window project. So I'm going to try to explain this as clearly as possible. This project for the windows is a couple years old. It got behind due to the pandemic and other reasons that had nothing to do with the town or the senior center.
Senior center.
Wait a minute.
All right, when I get home, I will. Thanks, Frank.
So we received funding again a couple years back when Diane was the director from the state of about $300,000 approximately. So finally, after a couple of staff changes at town hall, the project went forward. And we got some bids. They opened the bids, and the original bid amount was $635,000, or almost double our funding that was available. Obviously, that's not going to work. So they looked at a couple of options, including doing it in phases, which doesn't really solve anything because you still have to come up with the money eventually, or looking at the specs again, re-engineering, and they went with the re-engineering part, which was able to get the price down from $635,000 to $441,000, plus an alternate that's $132,000. So they ended up knocking about $200,000 off of the price, and it's for things that aren't going to affect the safety or the efficiency of the windows, but extras like certain type of translucent panels and certain types of trim that are the same as what they have at town hall to kind of match it. If they take that away and went with the more basic package, so it won't look, I don't know if anybody really cares if it looks the same as town hall or not. If they took that away and went with the basic type system we have now, a couple of things they just found like better prices for, like for rentals and things like that. Some abatement that they were able to take out if they went with the more basic package and not the package that matches town hall. It saves some money in abatement as well, and other types of savings. So they were able to value engineer it to be able to do it all in one phase, but we're still $200,000 over budget, $260,000 over budget to be exact. So that's where the town finance director came in and did her magic and found $260,000 in the following categories. In salaries by positions around town that were not filled, or where people came in at a lower salary than the person who had retired previous, they found $50,000. There was a $6,500 savings in heating fuel. Another salary reduction in savings was $130,000. Another one was $45,000. And then so the recent HVAC replacement that we had was actually almost $30,000 under budget. So they were able to transfer that. So she actually found the funding among vacancies and other things that weren't being used. And at the last town council meeting, which was April 25th, they introduced a lot of transfers, but that was ours is one of them. In the town of Newington, if you were to transfer among accounts in the town budget, something like say from highway to the senior center, or like what I just described, it can't be done until more than halfway through the fiscal year. So we're more than halfway through the fiscal year, so they could do the transfer now. So they introduced it at the last town council meeting to ask for permission to transfer the $260,000 coming from those various accounts, along with a couple of other projects that involve road reconstruction and highway and parks, to be able to get the rest of our funding needing to do the window project. So at the next regular town council meeting, they would ask for the council to approve that transfer. If it happens, then our project is fully funded at the amount of savings, as we discussed before, and the project could proceed. Another thing that was taken out was right now all the windows open. The project plan had actually already eliminated windows that open for all except for staff offices. And unfortunately, that was eliminated as well. So none of the windows are going to open in the new town hall. And that was, I mean, I'm sorry, in the new senior center window project. So it's unfortunate, but that was something apparently that the engineers recommended for various reasons. So
Did we ever open windows
I always have the windows open in my office. I
I
like
mean,
fresh air, but
other than offices? I don't remember.
sometimes like the card player, like the smaller rooms, the card players like to do it because they get fresh air.
in the auditorium.
Yep, and those windows are very old and very brittle. Apparently, they need to be replaced as soon as possible. So it makes sense to not have them open because people do open them and the air conditioning's on and it's a waste of energy. We have a new air conditioning and heating system, which is far more efficient. So, you know, there's really no reason we shouldn't be opening the windows and letting the heat air conditioning out. But I know that some of the smaller rooms, they may get a little stuffy. They're always opening the windows in the exercise room, that type of thing. So that's something they'll be taking used to. But I'm happy that the town departments were able to work together to come up with solutions so we can get our upgraded windows. In some parts of the building, not such a big deal. But in places like the auditorium, we're very limited to what we can do in there because the windows are not safe for sports or anything like that. So if we wanted to, we can't do much more than pickleball or table tennis in there because if you hit the window with something, you know, it's going to break. So we'll see what the town council says at their next meeting. And then they would go ahead and accept the bid with the exceptions. And hopefully then the project would get going. I made it very clear to the project engineer and the architect that if the entire building is getting replaced, that they need to work very closely with us to avoid disruptions to the center and to our programs. So that they understand the importance of that and they're committed to doing so. That's my building update.
Okay. Membership renewals and fees.
Yep. So from 2020 and then in 2021 and then in 2022, the commission waived the membership fee, which is $5 per year for residents. We did charge the $10 per year for non-residents, but a lot of times we ended up waiving it anyway. So it's up to the commission again. Let me just look at my numbers here. I think at this point, it would be appropriate to consider reinstating the fees. Again, they're nominal.
Is it $5?
$5 for in town and $10 for out of town. But it's up to it's actually the commission's
And
purview.
If you want to use the fitness center, is there an extra fee?
It's $25 in town and $40 out of town. And then there's a one-time fee to get certified to use it, to like get trained to use the equipment properly, but that's a one-time fee. That we've always charged. We never waived that. It's still a very good deal for a gym, basically a one-year gym membership for $25. So let me see. So year to date, I wish I had the pre-pandemic numbers, but I don't. We received about $2,000 expenditure. I'm sorry. We have in our membership account about $66,000. Most of that is carried over year to year, and our donations about $42,000. We've received about $1,400 in memberships. Again, that's only the fitness memberships because we're not charging for regular membership. And about $10,000 in donations. So people donate in lieu of membership fees, but they could also donate in addition to membership fees. You know, so it's up to this commission to decide. Membership it takes place each July. July 1st is the start of the membership year. So we would start sending out membership renewals probably like early June, and then we usually do a couple of rounds of reminders. So it's something for the commission to consider whether we want to reinstate the $5 fee or just keep it as is and let people donate. Now, pre-pandemic, incidentally, people would pay the $5, but they might throw in another 15 or 20 on top of it. And then when we eliminated the fee, a handful of people just took advantage of free membership, but most people would throw like say $20 or whatever as a donation anyway. So
I think Diane told me it was pretty close.
it has
The
been.
numbers were
Yep.
pretty close, whether there was a fee or no fee.
I'm not sure. I could find out what other centers are doing. I don't know if there's a huge advantage to charging the $5 fee other than it might
Well, it's a
cause
lot of
people
work.
it's a lot of work, but so is taking donations. You know, we're going to do membership renewals either way. People are going to fill out a form either way. Whether or not they give us a $5 bill with it is, you know, it's pretty much the same to us. It gives people a little bit more of a sense of ownership. Like, I belong to the center. I paid for my membership. I'm going to come and do things. But money-wise, it really has balanced out either way. So it's up to this commission what they'd like to do. And you don't have to make a decision right now. I'm just bringing it up to you.
Donations.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to get people to come here because, no offense, you don't send out the brochure on what's going to be. So
Well,
they
we
have
do.
to come.
We do. We send, if you request it, we do. We would never be able to afford sending it to everybody in town. We go broke with postage. But if you request to have your newsletter sent, we mail it to you every month. It's also available online. It's available. We email it out. It's on our website. It's on Facebook. And we have it here. We bring it to the senior housing. We bring it to the churches. We bring it to a lot of places. So there's a lot of ways to get it. But I agree with you. It's hard to get people in here if they don't know about it.
Yeah. If it's something you're interested in, by the time you get the connection, it's gone by already. You've lost customer.
Yeah.
I have to think about it. I don't know. How does everyone feel about it?
It's an even split, then don't do the fee, just do the donations if it's even.
I think if we did that, from my perspective, I usually write a letter that goes out with the membership renewals, and I would emphasize, you know, we really count on donations to bring the programs. I would word it appropriately, but our town budget essentially covers salaries and basics, so we really rely on support from the community to be able to bring you these programs, and maybe that would help people, encourage them to, you know, donate $5 or more in lieu of the $5 membership.
What do the other centers do? Do they have fees?
They're all over the place. So there's a Google spreadsheet that goes out to like a big listserv of senior centers throughout the state, and they're anywhere from free to donations to a monthly fee to a couple $100 a year. So I mean, there's really, it's hard to compare. If you look at like Rocky Hill, Weathersfield, Berlin, those types that are similar to us, even they vary. I think, like, for example, West Hartford doesn't have much of a membership fee, but all of their programs are fee based. Rocky Hill might have something like a $15 a year fee. Berlin, I don't think, has a fee. So they're all over the place, but I like the idea of making it donation based. $5 is so nominal.
And then people, if they can afford more, they give more, and if they can't afford it, then they're still
Right.
welcome.
Why
That's
not?
what I
Yeah.
like about it.
Yeah. And even if when we do have a fee, and the same goes for the fitness membership, if somebody could not afford the $5, we would waive it. But certainly, you know, they might not be willing to ask, and that might prevent them from coming in because they're afraid they can't afford it, even though we would welcome them anyway.
And you know who can afford it and who can't, basically.
But we get new people every day. Charlene, our secretary, is keeping track, and we're getting a couple of dozen new members each month, which is nice.
Word of mouth.
Yeah. So again, it's up to the commission. You could take a vote at the next meeting if you'd like. You could agree by consensus.
What do you think?
Whatever you want to do, we will do for you.
I like the idea of the donation because I think you're going to conceivably get more.
Right. I mean, so we did, when it was $5, we'd get $5 checks or $5 bills or whatever. But you have to wonder if some of those people might have, if it was, you know, might have said, oh, it's $5, here you go. But if it's donation, they might be willing to give a little bit more than that.
Try it and see what happens.
I kind of think suggested, if you want to make it a donation only, suggested a minimum $5 and up.
Yeah, that's what most people do. It wouldn't hurt to suggest it, certainly.
To make it
Yeah.
stated somewhere.
Yeah.
But,
I kind of like not charging to come in, and
right.
and I like that our programs don't cost any money except if you're going on a trip or something that.
And the ones that do cost money are nominal, like to cover the cost of supplies, that type of thing. Like art or craft classes, maybe $3 or $5 just because we have to buy the supplies, that type of deal. As long as we find it to be sustainable, which so far it has been, I would hate for the donations to level off or peter out and then we're stuck. But so far over the past couple of years, so good. So we're strong financially. We have what we need. We also get donations from community partners. We get sponsorships. We have small revenue streams from the gift shop and coffee shop. So I think we're doing okay.
So do you want to make a motion or you want to wait till the next meeting and think about it?
We're all in agreement for donations.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. So you want to make a motion?
Make a motion to donations.
Donations only.
I second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We also have our out of town fee is $10. Would you want to make a motion to waive that or should we keep that? We have kept that, but again, we end up waiving it a lot anyway. We have about 300 out of town members or so.
Oh, that's a
That's
lot.
significant.
Yeah. Again, it could be donation based, but just a thought.
I'm more apt to keep the out of town fee because I think if we went there, we would be paying a fee.
And for what it's worth, we have waived some due to financial need, but nobody complains about it. Nobody's like, I'm not spending $10 to be here because a lot of places, people do come here from out of town because they don't have what they're looking for in their own town. Like again, not picking on West Hartford because they have a fantastic department, but you're going to pay a couple $100s easily in fees if you're out of town, just to join their programs there, based on the way their fee structure works.
So you want
Very
to
good
make
deal.
a motion? Is everyone in favor of keeping the $10 for out of town?
Out of town?
Someone want to make a motion?
A motion to keep the out of town fee at $10.
But they can also make a donation if they want.
Yes, of course. And they do. Again, it's, we always accept donations.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one?
Okay.
Okay.
I will let the staff know and we'll be starting with our membership renewal drive within a couple weeks. This year is flying right by. It's May already. I can't believe it.
Kids will be out of school
I
soon.
know.
Let's see. Consideration of upcoming purchases.
I have a few. Two that I would like action on and one I'm just going to introduce for tonight. The first one is our pool tables. We have 2 pool tables down the hall that are in use every day. There are folks who come in and play pool daily and more so than ever before. That room is getting a lot of usage. I guess that the tables need to be refelted. It's been several years, and so I guess they get scratched up and dented. I don't know, the marks in the felt make the balls roll funny. So there's not many places out there that have such a service, but Josie called around and got some prices, and the best price she got was from T&M Billiards on the side of Steam Rock in Rocky Hill. And so to replace the felt on both of our pool tables, the cost would be $990. That is for the cloth and the labor. They said it should, with our daily usage, it should last for at least 3 to 4 years. So considering that both of those pool tables get used every day, I think we want to provide the folks who come here a good experience. And would like to ask the commission to approve that fee.
I think we go right on it.
Yeah, I mean, what's the sense of having a pool table if it
Right.
doesn't work
If-
right? Appropriate.
Appropriate
$900.
$900 for the refault.
Or do you want to go up to 10,000 in
Oh,
case?
it's 1,000. It's $990. So it would be 1,000 if you want to round up.
Yeah.
Yeah. $1,000. Sure. Mhm.
In case there's extra extra,
Always happens, right?
yeah, or if maybe the table underneath needs some repair or something.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Oh,
you.
we have a good group here.
We do. This is also a long meeting. I'm just realizing it's 7:23. We're almost done. the next thing is something that I believe can be reimbursed by our ARPA funding, but I still need your permission to make the expenditure. And it's for the outdoor. Like I said, we're looking to expand and improve our outdoor programming space. And that can include also things like having brunch and lunch and outside and programs, exercise, whatever. But the picnic tables that are out under the pavilion out there have pretty much reached the end of their useful life. They're very heavy. It takes several of us to move them. We have to move them around. And they're starting to splinter and they're not accessible. So they're hard to use. So we did some research you can get 6-foot tables that are powder coated steel and plastic, but they're durable and they're much easier to move. They are $239 a piece. We did a bunch of research on what would be the most useful for us, and we wanted portability and stability, and these have both. And they're not wood, so you're not going to get splintery. So we were looking to buy 4 of those, and we were also looking to purchase one that is accessible, which means it's actually Parks and Rec uses these too. It basically just doesn't have a bench on one side. So it could be used by a wheelchair user. Those are a little bit more expensive. They are $1,100. I'm sorry, $1,100, almost $1,200. So we'd be looking to purchase one of those. The other ones that we're purchasing, the traditional ones, you can also utilize wheelchairs at the ends of those. But, we want to make sure to be inclusive and make sure there's plenty of room for everybody.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you if there's only room for one
Right.
wheelchair.
So this would allow us to accommodate, several people if necessary. And they're easy to move around. They're more attractive. And they probably be more
Is
useful.
there room for more than one?
Of the one with the
Yeah.
There's room for more than one. So we could probably do 4 of the traditional 6-foot tables and then 2 of these, which are about 4 foot square. The tables are 4 foot square, and then there's benches around them that are attached, except for on the side. So if you were to do 1 square table and 4 traditional tables, it would be approximately $2,200. And again, this will be reimbursable, but I still need to ask you to buy them. If we were to do 2, then it would be $3,400. 2 of the accessible tables and then 4 of the traditional tables.
Now you're saying these are they're not wooden, because you go to the center of town and Park and Rec has, in Market Square, there must be 30 picnic tables, but they're all wooden. Now I don't know if they built them in
I
the
don't
town
know. I'm not sure.
or where they purchased. Because there's literally 30 picnic tables.
Yep.
Because they have
The concerts.
something in the parking lot, whether on Thursday nights
Concerts
or something.
Yeah.
But
Well, do they have wood because they're a lot heavier and they maybe won't get stolen?
Maybe.
Probably have wood because it was for sale when they bought.
Or
Yeah,
somebody, it
I'm
almost looks like
I'm
somebody
not
might have
I'm not
made them,
sure,
yeah.
Or is it something that they purchased, or is it something that the town, somebody built?
Possibly. They might have commissioned somebody to build them.
When you say picnic tables, because I know picnic tables I just saw at BJ's that are the Lifetime, which are plastic resin top tables, and they're not the handicap tables. And they're $140 at BJ's, and they fold flat.
We could look at those. These are $239 each, the 6-foot ones, and they fold as well. So we could take a look at those if you'd like. What's important to us, they have to be stable, of course. People who might need assistance getting on or off of them. And they're also used as work surfaces for the garden, so they need to be pretty durable. But we also need to be able to move them. So those ones out there, like I said, we'll have to have 4 of us out there to drag one over if we need to for something. So they need to be portable, movable. So if you would like to hold off until the next meeting, I'm happy to look at those.
Do they have to be commercial?
I would want them to be heavy duty enough that they can get daily use. And like I said, the gardeners would probably be putting dirt into pots and things like that on them. So they need to be easy to clean. They need to be durable, and they need to be portable. The ones that are wheelchair accessible, if those stay in place, that's fine. They would be less likely to do work on those, but if we can move them around for programs, and if we want to configure something a little differently for a certain program, that would be helpful as well. But we're happy to do more research into price if you think there's better options out there.
Well, like I said, I just know, because I bought it from my own home, and they're lifetime tables,
Yeah.
which are guaranteed for a lifetime,
Where did you say BJ's?
BJ's.
I'll look at it tomorrow.
Except
Yes.
lifetime doesn't always mean lifetime.
Well, honestly though, because we had one table and the bench, the squirrel or something ate like the corner of the plastic and whatever, and then we had registered it, we called the company, and they sent us out 2 benches to replace the benches, because it had supposedly a lifetime warranty
Because
on it.
we bought suitcases that had a lifetime warranty, and the lifetime warranty is 10 years.
Interesting. I would think that.
That's
you
what
know.
they told
Yeah.
us, so we had to get rid of them. And
Yeah.
get new
I'd be
ones.
interested to know where parking right out there.
I can find out too. Okay, so we'll table it and come back next month for it, and I'll ask Parks and Rec as well.
Yeah, I just think room for only one wheelchair, I think we would need.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they're raised gardens, so people in wheelchairs could actually work in them.
Oh, absolutely. And we I think last year installed all the walkways, so the entire garden's accessible by somebody in a wheelchair.
And that's something probably should be advertised.
Yep. I mean, our whole building should always be, it should be like not the exception that our building is accessible, but you're right.
Because people think gardening, I can't do gardening, my back is bad, or my knees are bad, or whatever. Especially gardening.
Okay. I will report back to you on that.
Okay.
The last thing, we could talk about at the next meeting, but in our wood shop, there's some heavy equipment, including a bandsaw. The bandsaw has reached the end of its useful life per our facilities department and PERMA, and who does the liability. The parts for it cannot be obtained, so they recommended purchasing a new saw. You might ask why we need a bandsaw at the Senior and Disabled Center, and that's a great question. We do have folks who use our room for woodworking purposes. They have to be certified to do so. They have to pass safety training, and they need to demonstrate that they can use the equipment safely and they know how to use it before they use the big heavy machines. So it's also used by volunteers here to make things for us, such as the cornhole boards and the little blocks that the card folks use if they have mobility issues and can't hold the cards. So it actually does benefit us. One of the things that we're looking toward doing with that room, although it's valuable, it is a little bit underutilized right now, is turning it into a maker space. And I think we're going to use the ARPA funding for that. So the woodworking will remain, but the other those big giant like island tables that they have there, we would look to repurpose so that people can go in and practice all different types of hobbies and crafts in there. But that would also include, again, retaining the woodworking equipment. Stuff's not cheap. It would be about $1,700 to replace that piece of equipment. I would like to do, this just actually came to me today, so I don't want to ask for action on it tonight because I do want to talk to our facilities director and do a little more research on it. So I just want to bring it to your attention that we would be looking to replace one of our pieces of woodworking equipment. Right now, the price that we got was $1,700, but this is again for like a heavy duty professional. It's not like a small little saw that you get at Home Depot. No, it's not. It's so, let me just, like I said, I'm just giving you a heads up. I'll get more info and bring it to you next time. It may be reimbursable as well under funding. I don't know. I'll have to look. Just a thought, so you know.
So the room is still being used then?
Oh, yes, it's used daily. It's used daily, absolutely. But I think that it's a huge room with a lot of space and a lot of storage. And I think that the woodworkers who use the heavy equipment pretty much use one side of it. And then you have some folks who are more like hobbyists who might make birdhouses or, doll houses, that type of thing. And they use some of the tables. The Art League used it for a time. I just feel like it could be better organized and better utilized. And there's a lot of places, senior centers, adult living centers, and like high schools and colleges, they're doing this makerspace model where you can, like I said, you can go in and practice any hobby or craft that you happen to be working on. I think that's a better use of that room than just woodworking. The facilities department uses that too. The town facilities department uses it as well. So
I
yeah.
wonder if, years ago, you used to have a woodworking in the high school.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's been replaced with STEM. but I don't know if they still do woodworking. I know that was,
Or what did they do with the equipment? that they
yeah,
had?
that's true. It was industrial technology. It was woodworking, plastic, and like metal. It was fun. But that's why I want to talk to the facilities director before I make any decisions on that.
Because they used to do cooking and
Mhm.
sewing and
Yeah.
home ec.
Yeah, they definitely don't have that anymore. Yeah. The childcare.
I'm a dinosaur.
I know lots of classes. Industrial arts.
Yep.
Home economics.
Yep.
So on and so forth.
Yeah. So it's a little different now, but definitely skills that people still have and want to practice. And so why not? So that's it for the purchases. Thank you for the approval on the felt. And we'll get back to you on the other ones.
Okay. Determining next meeting date and agenda.
Yep. So that would be June. Now, this commission does not typically meet in July and August. I know in past years it's also opted to not meet in June. So if you folks would like to not meet in June, that's fine. We are in the middle of a lot of things. So it might be worthwhile for you to at least have a quick meeting in June for a couple of things, but it's your choice.
And we've missed a lot of meetings
Right.
because of
I
not having
I
been
would
board.
think to meet in June, because then we have the volunteer dinner,
Mhm.
June 22nd,
Yep.
so that, you know.
It doesn't have to be this long. This might be a record.
Might be.
Yeah. Let me just look at my calendar. So then if we were to keep, that's all right. If we were to keep with our first Wednesday of the month, it would be Wednesday, June 7th at 6 o'clock. Does that work for everybody?
Oh, and we won't need 5 people.
No, we'll only need 4.
Well, because the council approved.
Correct.
Yes, they had to advertise it for 30 days
All
to see if anyone didn't like the idea.
Before it goes into effect, yeah. So that would be,
So-
when did that get published? May 5th, April 15th?
April 13th.
It's okay. So by the next meeting, it'll be in effect. Which means we'll need 4 people.
Because I'm missing another meeting.
Okay. Well, we only need 4 for a quorum now, so.
So I already have it on my calendar, so I'm here. I'm not away.
Okay, so we'll plan for that. I'll send out reminders and email confirmations and everything else beforehand.
And all the minutes.
Yep.
too.
So the minutes for the past 2 meetings are in your email, and I think you should have them now,
Yeah.
hard copy.
Yes.
But thankfully, Karen Galicchio, thank you for doing our minutes if you're listening for this meeting, because I did not want to. So, all right. That's all. I got.
So, is there any public participation?
Nobody's online.
Okay. Nobody loves us. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
uh,